2015 has been the warmest year on record, and December 2015 was the warmest in the last 114 years. Today in Candid Conversation, we will interact with the topmost weathermen of the country to know how alarming is this change in the weather across the world, and also whether or not it will continue in the future. In Candid Conversation, we have with us Dr. S Rathore. He is the Director General of the Indian Meteorological Department. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us on Candid Conversation. So 2015 had seen an unusual extent of warm winters. Warm and winters together. Ironical it may sound, but then what was the reason behind that?
Well, it is not only winter. If you look at the global perspective throughout the year, it is warm throughout the year. And if you look at the anomalies with reference to the normals which we defined from the period 1961 to 1990, and that's how we define the normals. In that reference, since 1998, there is a constant rise in the temperatures globally. We have seen that entire decade 2001 to 2010 was warm, and then if you also analyze with reference to that decade, this 5 years, they are still warmer. And 2015 particularly, if you analyze the data so far, globally it is felt that it is 0.70 degrees Celsius positive anomaly with reference to that 30-year period normal. So it is quite warm, and in the history of last 114 years, 1901 to 2015, it is one of the warmest years.
How alarming is this?
Well, the rising temperatures are definitely alarming for a variety of reasons. It make the weather more intense, and also it also create anomalies in entire circulation pattern, both atmosphere as well as oceans. And because of the changing temperature gradients across different surfaces, particularly oceans and land, the established processes of atmospheric circulations are also changing very fast. And it is a big challenge for meteorologists to understand how the changes are happening and how to factor those changes into their predictions, because you have to then model, carry out the research and model the impact of these changes to have a better prediction.
Right, you're talking of the prediction and how challenging task it is. We'll talk about that in detail. But then, do you see a repeat of this every year from here on? Because earlier we've seen that there is a fixed pattern that continues for the year, and this time now we've seen that there is a paradigm shift from here on. Do you expect this as a start of a new pattern, start of a new phase when we talk of weather forecasts?
As far as the start of new phase is concerned, it has started. And
the warming.
The warming.
That will continue.
It has to continue with its own aberrations and fluctuations. And if you really want to understand as to why this is happening, we need to also understand the cause for this warming is the increased amounts of greenhouse gases which we are pumping into the atmosphere. And if you try to analyze the quantum of these greenhouse gases, pre-industrial era and now, and if I take the most largest culprit, the carbon dioxide, that has increased by 43%. And in the year 2014, we have recorded that CO2 has exceeded the benchmark of 400 parts per million. And so is the case for other greenhouse gases, be it sulfur dioxide, be it nitrous oxides, and be it methane, and be it chlorofluorocarbons, and all the components of atmosphere which are causing the greenhouse impact or effect are on the rise. And therefore, even if you curtail these emissions, the sources which we have pumped into the atmosphere are going to last, therefore, coming years. So the the rising trend, if not continue, is not on the card. But there will be fluctuations. For example, 2015 is abnormally warm because of certain conditions of the oceans. The Pacific is
El Nino effect for that matter,
as you
yes.
rightly mentioned. And El Nino is a condition of equatorial Pacific region. And if the sea surface temperature increase there, we call it El Nino. And that has impact on the east-west circulation in the equatorial region. And therefore, if the ocean is warm, it is coupled to atmosphere. And that will lead to the paradigm shift in the east-west circulation and also north-south circulation. So entire circulation pattern of the atmosphere, which is linked to the ocean, are also altering.
So efforts indeed that have to be made in this direction. We'll talk of the Paris Communique here. How do you evaluate though it was indeed a Herculean task at the hands of the countries when they gathered at the Paris summit, but then now that they've decided and the add-ons which have been put forth in the Communique, how do you evaluate that, and will that somewhere help in curbing the alarming nature of this rise which you're talking of?
I consider the outcome of Paris Communique as a very positive development for two counts. We have to develop particularly the developing and underdeveloped nations, so their energy requirements are on the constant rise. Notwithstanding that, all the countries, they have come to a conclusion that we need to do something to check the emissions of the greenhouse gases. And there is an agreement on that account. So that is on the positive note. And as far as Government of India is concerned, we have really, being a developing nation where our energy requirements are very large, we have made a solid commitment to the global fraternity that we are going to cut, and that is going to be done through our cutting emissions through our better sources of energy, the deployment of green technology, and that is very positive.
We'll talk of the weather consciousness of the people. Common person like me, how far do you, as the head of the IMD, how do you ensure that this weather consciousness among people, for weather is a concern for the farmers, for the fishermen and other communities who are attached to this, but for a common person like me, how do you ensure that the weather consciousness should be enhanced and is enhanced, the efforts in that regard?
Well, any consciousness, including weather consciousness, will have to come from within. And nobody can really force you to become conscious of anything. But since weather impact every sphere of our activity and every sphere of flora, fauna, everything, and we need to be conscious, we need to have a better and accurate prediction or accurate information. Even prediction is not required. Even you can take decision based on the climatology or current meteorological conditions, and also you need to know as how my activity is being impacted and what is economic loss or gain if I use the weather information in my activity. And unless you have that kind of understanding of the processes involved in your day-to-day activity, you will not be really inclined to make use of that information, and that is now growing. It is growing tremendously. We have seen that because of all three aspects. Aspect number one, there is a significant improvement in the skill of weather prediction in India particularly.
All right.
Number two, there is a tremendous economic aspects attached to weather. And we are now in the realm of economic competition. So you have to cut the cost of investment, and that has to be done through variety of aspects, including weather information, because you can save a lot of money if you are weather wise.
So as a common one also you have efforts, it's not just the government and
That's
the government
right.
agencies which require that. We'll continue our interaction, sir, with you, but at present we're heading for a short commercial break. In Candid Conversation, today you're watching us interview Dr. Lakshman Singh Rathore. He is the Director General of Indian Meteorological Department, talking with us more on the changing global pattern when we talk of weather. Stay with us.
चलो सीखें एक नया हुनर और चलें काम पर स्किल इंडिया के साथ, जिसकी पहल हो चुकी है प्रधानमंत्री कौशल विकास योजना से। कौशल भारत, कुशल भारत।
आइसक्रीम खाएगी?
आइसक्रीम? ये है डबल आनंद। पहला आनंद पॉलिसी टर्म के अंत पर मैच्योरिटी क्लेम का पूरा भुगतान, और दूसरा आपके अपनों के लिए लाइफ कवर की पूरी रकम बिना किसी प्रीमियम के। LIC न्यू जीवन आनंद, आनंद ही आनंद।
एक इम्पोर्टेंट मैसेज, अगर आपको टीवी सीरियल्स देखने का शौक है तो जल्द से जल्द अपने घर में सेट टॉप बॉक्स लगाइए।
क्यों?
क्योंकि सेट टॉप बॉक्स लगाने की आखिरी तारीख निकल चुकी है।
तो आप
टीवी सीरियल्स कभी भी बंद हो सकते हैं।
नहीं, सीरियल्स के बिना दिन कैसे कटेंगे हमारे? आप ही बताइए ना, कौन सा सेट टॉप बॉक्स लगवाए?
सिंपल, सेट टॉप बॉक्स मतलब डिश टीवी, क्योंकि डिश टीवी है 10 करोड़ लोगों की पसंद। इंडिया का सबसे भरोसेमंद DTH ब्रांड भी यही है।
और हाँ, अब डिश टीवी के साथ अपना मनोरंजन खुद चुनिए। पैक सिर्फ 99 रुपए से शुरू। सेट टॉप बॉक्स मतलब डिश टीवी।
ओ जन्मी बेटी भोलू घर फैली है चारों और खबर सारे सज कर आए। अरे भरे हैं मटके पानी से डूबे हैं जिनमें हाथ कई चाचा चाची नानी के। डॉक्टर दीदी आई वहाँ देख गंदगी जहाँ तहाँ, बोली सफाई का रखो ध्यान। पीने का पानी रखो साफ, उसमें न डालो अपने हाथ। पानी के बर्तन सदा ढके, बीमारियों से सभी बचे। जल ही जीवन है,
अच्छी सेहत चाहिए तो
साफ जल अपनाइए।
उंगली थाम के जिसने चलना सिखाया, कड़ी मेहनत करके हमको पढ़ाया, हमारी खुशियों को अपनी खुशी बनाया। जिंदगी के हर सुख दुख में जो एक साया बनकर साथ रहे, ढलती उम्र में इन्हें अकेला ना छोड़ें। ध्यान रखें, माता पिता एवं वरिष्ठ नागरिक भरण पोषण एवं कल्याण अधिनियम 2007 के तहत माता पिता की देखभाल करना हमारा कर्तव्य है और उनको बेसहारा छोड़ना एक दंडनीय अपराध है। सामाजिक न्याय और अधिकारिता मंत्रालय, भारत सरकार द्वारा जनहित में जारी।
Welcome back after the break. You're watching Candid Conversation this evening, and with us we have the Director General of IMD, Dr. S Rathore, and with him we talked of the weather consciousness before heading for the break. Sir, one aspect is weather consciousness, the common person, the government, but as the head of the IMD, how do you ensure, and also before that tell us about the factors that influence changes in the weather pattern or the weather phenomena which you've predicted, and how challenging is that?
Well, the challenges in weather prediction or meteorology per se is growing and growing on account of variety of aspects. Aspect number one is the climate change. Climate is changing, weather is become more fearful, and like for example the cyclones, they are becoming more intense. Number of extreme weather events are increasing, and there is phenomenal rise in extreme weather events in last 30-40 years. And if we look at the data, there is a 5-fold increase in number of extreme weather events in last 40-45 years. And so also their impacts. Now we are targeting in our prediction system the impact based weather forecast. That means it is not only giving a general weather condition, but how the given weather is going to impact variety of activities which are impacting the common man, material and different activities, in order to save not only the life and property, but also to harness the benevolence of the weather to increase the productivity and minimize the impact of malevolent weather. So that is what we are targeting for.
Yes, you're talking of how challenging is weather prediction as a whole, but then I would want you to tell us more about the corrective measures. How do you introduce the corrective measures? Because weather prediction is not a fixed pattern. There could be changes, and there could be changes very frequently to what you have predicted. How do you introduce the corrective measures from here on?
Actually, it is a continuous process. We do take observations continuously, and then we generate a lot of data. And globally we exchange data, and from these observations we define the initial state of atmosphere, which again is a continuous process. Every 6 hourly we define, we modify the initial state of atmosphere, and then we run the models.
And in doing that, how accurate are we? When I would ask you to tell us, as a comparison with the global agencies, say if we take a country like US, are we on the similar lines, or are we less similar to them, or the forecast, the predictions which we do? How do you evaluate that when we talk of the global concerns and the global arena?
If I give the name of 6 topmost weather offices in the globe, that include European Community, European Centre for Medium Range Weather Forecasting, UKMO, America's National Centre for Environment Prediction, JMA, India Meteorological Department, then Australian Weather Bureau. So we are ranking in that
the top 6.
Almost.
Yes.
And we are running the state of art models. We have the state of art observing systems, because only 6 countries have meteorological satellites, and India has 1. And it is the satellite observations which are the prime drive for defining the initial condition. So we are very good on the observing front. We are very good on the modeling front. We are very good on the post-processing in order to define, in order to prepare the weather forecast and also develop applications. So we have developed applications for aviation, agriculture, hydrology, power, and so many other sectors. And but there is a huge scope for further development of application for variety of other fields.
You're talking of the evolution of the IMD, but then let's talk of the good days and bad days. Prediction, as you say, there could have been appreciation also at times, and also at times criticism, hits and misses. Chennai floods on record, I do remember that the IMD had been appreciated for the predictions it made for the Chennai floods, but then there are bad days as well, and misses are there. Also at this point, I'm reminded of a number of jokes on weathermen. I'll say one of them. It says that some days I think that I should become, there was a person who says that I think I should become a weatherman someday, because 95% of the times you're wrong and still you have a job at hand. But jokes apart, how do you've talked of the corrective measures, but then do we say that the evolution of the IMD, which you have told us just a while back, would you say that it's the end of the weatherman jokes area, the jokes of the weatherman era from here on?
Well, if you look at the skill and improvement in the skill, currently for say winter season we are 95% time we are correct, and during monsoon we are correct 80% of the time, which I consider in tropics we are the best. And so it is directly linked to how good or bad you are. So
80% times you're saying you're right. That means that when the IMD says it's going to rain, we should come out of our homes with an umbrella.
Definitely. But important aspect is the accurate prediction of extreme weather events. And if you look at the recent past history, be it Chennai, be it Kashmir, be it Uttarakhand, be it Hudhud, be it Phailin, be it other cyclones, not a single cyclone we have missed to predict it accurately. Not only its track, but it's also movement, and then point of landfall and time of landfall, and the associated weather pattern, how that is going to impact. And that has really come off a very long way in building the image. Not only building the image, but minimizing the losses of lives and properties.
Right, so weather prediction does not end up being a science fiction anymore these days. Alisa, from here on, we'll talk of how weather has evolved as an industry. It's not just about the maximum and the minimum temperature of the day from these days. I would want you to give us more on how it has evolved as an industry, and also we've seen application-based weather predictions are there. Give us more on that as well.
Well, different industry will have different meteorological requirements or meteorological information requirement. And it is for industry to assess and put an indent to the Weather Bureau that as to we need this kind of information in that format. We are doing that for example, the power sector. Power sector, we are right from power generation, be it hydel or wind power or solar power, and power distribution. Is done very scientifically with weather as a very critical input. So different industries are making use of information, but of course we need to better organize. For example, mining, and particularly the open mines, which is highly sensitive to rainfall, to temperature, then transportation of the raw material from source to the industrial plant, processing, and then transportation of and marketing of processed goods. Everything is weather sensitive, and people do take cognizance of weather and use weather information in their activities, but to me I think we need to do much more on that account.
All right, you need to do much more on that account, but then also tell us more about the achievements of the department in its service to the nation.
Who interpret the weather.
Weather prediction is affecting every industry, every occupation, a common person these days. So tell us more on that, these lines.
You see, basically we are an agrarian country, and although our GDP share to agriculture is reduced, but still about 65 to 70% people are attached to the profession of agriculture. We have a very dedicated service known as Agro-Meteorological Advisory Service. And under that service, we are providing tailor-made weather forecast, which is district specific in quantitative terms, not only forecast, but advisories which are generated from the state agricultural universities or institutes of Indian Council of Agricultural Research, because it is the agriculture scientist domain. So we pass it weather forecast to agriculture scientists who interpret the weather forecast in the context of different crops, livestock, and then disseminate that information to the farmers. And considering the large volume and large number of farmers which are engaged, we have gone information dissemination far ahead of any other country. We are trying to reach out through variety of ICT mode, like mobile application. We are sending SMS to about 11 million farmers, and then internet and print media, radio. Radio is coming up in a very big way, and so the fast modes of information dissemination are also deployed, and this alone has led to significant saving, not only saving in the cost of cultivation, but also increase in the production. And for example, 2015, if you take the example, there was freak weather in the pre-monsoon when wheat was almost ready for harvest. It caused a lot of damage, but we gave advisory, so some amount of wheat could be saved. Then there came the monsoon. We well in advance in April we said that monsoon is going to be like that, and then we generated advisories that farmers should go in for short duration crops which need less water. So that helped them. Then when it came to the northeast monsoon, we said that it is going to be excess. So in different temporal ranges we do make predictions, and which are consumed by user in different ways. And definitely these are the figures.
Yes, that explains why it is because of weather local news is being watched on a large scale. Sir, having led the IMD since 2012, and you will retire soon, before you retire, where do you plan and where do you aim to see the IMD?
Well, there are large number of issues, and we are now targeting particular focus on high impact weather events. Like severe thunderstorms, which are major killers, and the electrocution which happened because of the lightning, this is major killer. And then we have the huge mountainous belts in north, Himalaya, and there are hardly any observing systems. So we want to deploy observing systems in the mountain and carry out research, because Himalaya has a profound influence on the monsoon and other processes, including winter rainfall and winter circulations. So that is where we are focusing. Also the oceans. So far weather and oceans were looked at as different entities. Now we are working towards development of coupled ocean atmosphere models, and that is where we are focusing to have a better simulation of the processes and their interactions, so as to better understand and improve the forecasts.
So we've talked of the anomalies before, but then I would want you to specify and tell us, do we have a mechanism in place when we talk of snow waning or waxing in the Himalayan belt, and give us more on that.
Well, anything, be it ocean, be it extent of ice, that is integral part of meteorological information system, because we need to assimilate those information, because they had a profound influence on the atmospheric circulation. So we do need to monitor that, but these are difficult to monitor through ground-based observing systems, and we need to depend more on the satellite-based monitoring mechanisms. So as far as Himalaya is concerned, through our INSET we are able to monitor. But equally important is both Arctic and Antarctic, which are monitored through polar orbiting satellites, and so Department of Space do that for Government of India, and there are other polar orbiting satellites, and in meteorological community we have a very good arrangement for free flow of the
information observation.
Yes, because that is weather and climate has no boundaries. And through the resolution of World Meteorological Organization, we do exchange all the information, which are very critical even for our tropical cyclone predictions. And since India has responsibility not only for India, but also for the entire region, we are a regional specialized meteorological center for Indian Ocean countries. So we do give advisory to our neighboring countries as well. So this is very critical.
So we still have a long road ahead to travel. All right. On that note of positivity, sir, thank you so much for joining us on Candid Conversation. Thank you so much.
Thank you. My pleasure.